A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. All right, let's do some intentions.
Okay.
You want to read them?
Yes. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 31. At the time, I was living with my parents and they took amazing care of me. Luckily, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was able to go to all the appointments with me and be very involved with my treatment. Now I'm 7 years cancer-free and roles have reversed. Now she's going through health issues. Last year, she was diagnosed with kidney failure and spent a year going between the hospital and a full-time care facility. She finally was able to go back to my parents' house this past summer, but needs full-time care as she can't sit or stand up without a lot of assistance. My family is privileged to be able to have a temporary caregiver that can help both my parents at home, allowing my younger brother and me to go twice a week or so to visit and help out. We were hoping she would get better when she was home, but it doesn't seem to be the case because now we're starting to see a mental decline, and we aren't sure if it's Alzheimer's or dementia, which her mother also had. I'm struggling right now with wanting to be there for my parents and give them all the support that they deserve, especially after caring for me for years, but also wanting to live my life to the fullest now. Before cancer, I very much lived in the moment, and now I'm even more of a YOLO person because I don't know how much more time I have. It makes me feel like a horrible daughter to feel frustrated with my mom when I don't think that she's trying hard enough to get better, or when I compare how much I help with how much my brother helps. That's another stressor, knowing that the majority of my parents' care will be on me at some point. I'm the oldest daughter who falls into all those typical tropes, and my partner and I are child-free by choice, whereas my brother and his girlfriend want children in the near future. Any advice on how to move through this situation with an intention would be amazing. Thank you both for all that you do. Guilty survivor, Betch.
This is very difficult, I think. I've talked on other shows about, my dad being kind of like in a similar, like, sick position and, how much, what your role is in those things. I think when it's like your child, like when she talks about her having cancer herself, when it's your child, you feel probably a sense of like, you know, maybe a larger responsibility. But I think sometimes when it's your parents, it can feel like, what is the role there? Because
Right.
the roles are reversed. And like, how much am I expected to do for someone who technically would be taking care of me in a normal scenario?
Yep. And it's not apples to apples because, a parent brings a child into the world. It wasn't their choice to be here. You brought them into the world. It is pretty cut and dry that if they're sick, you're going to take care of them. But like you said, it's not as defined as to what your role is as an adult child with an ailing parent. So I think it's very personal what you decide to do with that. And I see this a lot where because it is kind of a personal choice of like how much of your life you're going to give up to care for a parent, the sibling dynamics can get really tricky because you each kind of have your own relationship with your parent defined by completely separate experiences over the course of your lives. Sounds like she feels like her mom was an amazing mom, totally supported her through her illness, like was there for everything. So she probably feels this, more of a pull to take care of her in a similar way, whereas maybe her brother doesn't feel that, or they just have a different relationship. And it can get hard and it can get judgy and it can get really frustrating. Like you judge your sibling because they're not feeling this. That we'd said there's like this undefined role as a child. I mean, some cultures it's defined, like you dedicate your life to your parent. That's just some cultures, that's what it is.
Right.
Some cultures it is a lot less defined. And then you get to kind of decide for yourself. And it can be hard not to judge someone who's maybe choosing a different choice, or in this case, judge yourself.
Right. To judge both. I think it's hard to like ever feel like if you're doing enough not enough, or should someone else be doing more? And it's definitely hard not to compare those things, I'm sure. Like, how much am I doing versus how much are they doing? And we're all technically like like we're children, we're all
Mhm.
her children, so we should all do the same. But like, should you? I think there's like that might be a a a way of thinking that I don't know if is accurate. This feeling of like we're all equally their child, so we should have an equal role in this. And I'm sure you see this a lot where like, a parent gets sick and maybe one child like they go live with one of the parents, one of the children. But like, and how does that decided? And how does that
Right.
like come together? And
Right.
what is everyone's role in that? So I think it's like a very complicated thing that doesn't really get talked about
Yeah.
much. I think it's really nice when a parent has a plan for that probably unburdens their kids to an extent.
Yeah, I think that is like on the forefront of a lot of parents' minds if they have the means to financially plan for, and it sounds like they do. This listener, they do have the means where there's someone like physically taking care of her. It sounds like maybe the burden is more just like showing up, like
Visiting,
emotionally,
yeah.
yeah, visiting, keeping her company. Um, I think that's kind of what she's dealing with. But I've seen this done so many different ways. Like I've seen it where the parent will switch off and live with this child for a month and live with this child for a month. But I do think you have to have conversations in terms of you can't force your sibling to have the same level of pull to care for the parent if they don't have that. Like, but what you can do is you can say, if you have a good relationship with your sibling, what you can do is say, hey, I feel a pull to do this. I want to be here. That's part of like my thing with my relationship with mom or dad or whatever it is. And like, I could use your help in this way. Even if you've decided not to do this for mom, like people have complicated relationship with their parents. Like their parents weren't there for them. Their parents didn't, take care of them when they were sick. So then it's kind of like, that's not this case, but I've seen that happen where somebody's like, well, it's still your mother. So you still have to show up, even if she didn't take care of you or she wasn't good to you. And then
Right.
someone else is like, no, I don't. That's not
Yeah.
my,
And I think there's a lot of like moral judgment of yourself and others in these scenarios where it feels like the right answer is we're all going to do as much as we possibly can universally. But like, that seems like the kindest, you know what I mean? That's like the way you can't lose with that
right,
mindset. Right.
right.
But is that accurate, or is that necessary? Like, are you a better person if you're doing more? I don't know.
Right. Well, let's just pretend for argument's sake that the parent is a great parent. Like this woman's mother was like a great mom. She took good care of her when she was sick. Um, in that case, I do think the right thing to do is to show up. But I also think she can depend, maybe even before her mom like becomes, has like more severe dementia, she can talk to her and maybe she would say to her, no, honey, like I want you to go live your life. Like you can FaceTime me. I'd love a call from you. Um, if you can come see me once a week or whatever, I would love that. Or these are the things that I want. But like she might be feeling like she needs to do this. And her mother might be feeling like, I don't want you to sit here. I want you to go enjoy yourself. So maybe that is a conversation that she can have. And I also think here's the other thing that I've seen that I think is important to note. If you feel so guilty that then you just kind of drag yourself there every day, feeling like I'm not living my life, especially after what she went through, surviving cancer, that now she's going to just kind of be there. I don't want to say begrudgingly, but like out of guilt and not doing things that she wants to do. Her energy in that space is not going to be great versus if she's like going and doing fun things and living her life and coming back and being like, okay, mom, I'm here. I brought this and let's do this. And let me tell you about this. And I got it. And just kind of like good vibes when she's there versus like just kind of
Quality, not
trudging
quantity.
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Right.
getting
No, I
annoyed
agree
and
with that.
snapping at her because she's like, oh, I'm here, but you're not even doing your physical therapy. And like, if you do your physical therapy, then you'll get better and I can get back to my life versus like, I'm not going to try to control you. I'm going to like live my life, show up in a positive way. There's so many ways to connect now that you don't necessarily need to be physically present. I mean, some people might disagree. There are definitely cultures that are like, your parents sick, that's the most important thing. You've got to be there, you know, as much as humanly possible. So I think this is a very personal choice. And it sounds like for her,
And luckily, she also has her dad. She has her dad and the caretaker. So I do think there's like, well, it's hard to know where the sweet spot is, what feels right, but I feel like she'll know that by experimenting with it and having that conversation with her mom, who it sounds like she is close to.
yeah, this sounds like it's more like a getting ahead of yourself problem. Like I would pick a cadence that feels good for you and then see how that feels for you, for your mom. Talk to her. Like, just start going. It sounds like she's going twice a week. I can't get a feel for if she thinks she needs to be going more than twice a week or if she wants to be going less than twice a week. But like, if you're starting with the twice a week, see how that feels. Stick to that if that feels good. Talk to your mom about it. If she's capable of having that conversation, or maybe your dad might be another good person to talk about this dilemma that you're having. But yeah, I think guilt is very draining. Like guilt is an emotion that it doesn't really serve much benefit, especially for this person who I think is trying to be a good daughter and is really thinking hard about how to show up for her mom. The guilt is just going to drain you so that when you do show up, you're going to be more short-tempered and not showing up your best self.
I agree. Fewer, better visits. But do we have an intention for her for when she's stressed out or not sure what the right amount is or feeling guilty or any of that stuff?
Yes. Yeah. And I touched on a little bit what she said about like she's frustrated with her mom for not trying to get better, and kind of like letting go of that battle because she can't change her mom, but she could set her own boundaries around this. So the intention that I wrote is I cannot change the outcome, but I can choose to refuel and show up with presence. So that might be show up physically, that might be show up on a FaceTime call, that might be show up by sending something in the mail. Like I think there's ways that you can show up, and when you are with her, kind of show up with full open-hearted presence. And in order to do that, you need to take care of yourself, especially because you have this huge existential crisis that's underlying all the time that you have on this earth.
Yes. Love that. All right. Good luck. Let's do some triggers. I'll read our first one. Hello, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. Huge fan of the pod. I'm always tell everyone to listen because of the great advice you give. Thank you. I feel like it's helped me to gain perspective and helped me to be a better friend when people come to me for advice. Now on to my issue. I recently got married and had a very close friend cancel the day before, and I'm not exactly sure how triggered I can be. A little backstory. This friend had announced her pregnancy back in March with her due date a month before the wedding. This is her second. When I sent out the invites, the due date was set for the end of September, figuring that for this friend, she would want to see how the birth goes before RSVPing. In turn, she ended up being one of the first to say yes for her and her husband. A bit surprised, but figured this being her second, she knew what to expect. In August, this group of friends got together for an end of summer party / seeing her one last time before she gives birth. And she made a comment about how my wedding would be her baby's first and probably the first opportunity to meet the new baby. I was shocked. It clearly stated on the invite and wedding website that this was an adult-only wedding. Plus, she never said anything when she RSVP'd. When I reminded her of this, she said that she didn't think a 1-month-old would be considered a child. Okay. And that obviously she needed to bring the baby, and if she couldn't, she probably wouldn't be able to come. I don't want to overstep, but isn't it a bit weird to bring a fresh baby to such a large event? Plus, we had planned for everything to be outside. I told her that the RSVP deadline was end of September, but I could adjust as I had some buffer. So why not wait until the baby is born and see how everything is going before confirming they can come? I also said that I understand with feedings that being away from the baby might be hard, but I would give her the timing of everything so she could duck out to check on the baby. Side note, her sister lives about 20 minutes from the venue, and that would be where her 3-year-old would be as well. She said that it could work, but again, baby really needs to be with her, and I should let her bring the baby. And worst case, she could just duck out if the baby gets fussy. I reiterate that we did not plan a child-friendly wedding, and we have already reinforced this boundary with others, so there will be no exception. Fast forward, and baby is born. She then confirms on the drop-dead date about 2 weeks before that they are planning to come and asks if I can add more time between events for her and also requests to sit near the door. Leading up to the day, everything seems fine until I receive the attached text. So the attached text is from her friend, and it says, "Hey, blank, I hate to be typing this, but we won't be able to make it to the wedding tomorrow. The baby has developed more feeding challenges. He can't consistently stay latched onto breast or bottle, has lost a bit of weight, and things have become really unpredictable. The situation changed rapidly over the past week. Getting him to feed is unpredictable and requires a lot of attention and time. We're heartbroken, exhausted, and working closely with therapists to get him back on track. I expected that we would have made more progress by now. I've done mental gymnastics all night trying to figure out a way to come, but it just won't work. I'm so sad to miss your wedding, and I feel awful for the last minute change, but we have to put the baby's health first so we can get it on a more sustainable path again. Sending you so much love as you get ready for tomorrow." And then she responds with, "Okay, thanks for letting me know." All right. Then she says, "When I got the text, I was shocked as to how she let me know. I let my maid of honor know, also part of the friend group. Naturally, the day before the wedding, I'm traveling to the city where it's held, dropping things off at the venue, meeting with my coordinator to go over the day of the events, and checking into the hotel, then going to the rehearsal. A bit overwhelmed. So I did take a bit to respond back to her. We also had another friend cancel just after this too. I had another friend cancel a week before, but at least that gave me enough time that I wasn't out money for her plate. Plus, she called me. What makes this triggering for me, I gave her lots of time to change her mind, and she waited to the day before. It was a text. Does this not deserve a phone call? I took a bit to reply back, and she complained to my maid of honor for the response. And lastly, that she never asked me post-wedding how it went. Her husband never reached out, and her whole text to me is all about her. How triggering can I be? Sincerely, Betchy, blindsided bride."
All right. There's a lot of components here. There's the bringing the baby component. There's her asking for her to change the timing of the wedding events. That part I think is crazy component.
Yeah, I agree. I think she lists a lot of things. Some of them are much more triggering than others. I can see why this would be really annoying. And I guess annoying and triggering are similar. Because she gave her the out so many times. She was
Yeah.
basically like, "I'm not trying to change the wedding. So if you think it's going to be too much, it's totally okay if you didn't go." And I think to say that to someone is basically like you're getting ahead of an issue like this, which, I mean, here's the thing. Her text does say that it seems like it was a recent problem,
Mm-hmm.
an issue that came up, and she was planning. I don't think she was like messing with you by saying she was coming 2 weeks before and then changing her mind. Like, I do think she clearly wanted to go, because if she didn't want to go, you gave her a million outs. She RSVP'd, and she reiterated that she was RSVPing 2 weeks before, and she's trying to figure it out so she could bring the baby. The baby I don't know much about feeding schedules or this thing. It sounds stressful. I believe her. I don't think she's making it up. I think the text itself was fine. I think a text the day before your wedding when you're busy running around and probably don't have time for a whole phone call and might be more annoyed that you're sitting down for a whole phone call when you have a million things to do. I think I would do this via text too. And then maybe so I think that part is, I get it. The friend has a false sense of what she's capable of.
Yes.
And that's the really annoying part. And I think the triggering parts are that she tried to bring the baby when she said no baby. She doesn't ask her how the wedding went after. That she maybe doesn't acknowledge that she had to pay for her anyway. I would hope she would have sent a really nice gift.
Yeah.
If it were me and I did this, and again, I think this could happen to anyone where they want to come to something and they try to do something and then they just overestimate themselves and they feel bad because then they kind of look like an asshole by doing something like this. So I think this happens, but I would have sent a really nice gift and I would have sent a follow-up text the day after and just said, I hope it was amazing. The picture, you looked amazing you looked incredible on the pictures I saw, blah, blah, blah. I think she seems apologetic in the text. The text to me was like, fine. Like, I don't know what else she could have said.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I agree with you. This is annoying, but I don't know that I would say this person is like, so like, how could she, like, what was she thinking? I think it is annoying because she's like, I don't have a kid and I knew that this was going to happen. And you have a kid. And I was trying to tell you that this was going to happen. And you kept saying no until I had to pay $300 for your plate. And then the day before, you say you can't come. And that is really annoying. Like, I kind of told you, like, even the idea, like, I felt a little bit differently about, I see the friend's point to an extent of like a newborn baby is different than like a toddler, right? A newborn baby is almost like an appendage of yours. Like, they're on your body. They're not running around. They're not like throwing flower baskets across the ceremony. They're just kind of, she would think, like quietly nursing and like I'm sitting holding my baby, and like it's different than an 8-year-old.
I would ask that rather than tell that. Like, it's, I think if a wedding said, if it said no kids, I wouldn't assume that didn't include my baby.
A baby, yeah.
It was one thing to say, I know it said no kids, but because the baby's so small and whatever, blah, 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 she didn't say, it doesn't sound like she did that. She was like, of course I'm bringing the baby.
Yes. So that's also annoying that she wasn't kind of like, I know it's just a baby and like, I really want to be able to be there. I would take this as like, it was almost like flattering how much she wanted to really make this work and how much she really wanted to be there from day one, like RSVPing yes right away, not taking any of the outs. Like, she really wanted to be there for you. And I think maybe she had a different experience with her first child that left her with a false sense of confidence that she was going to be able to do this. But I do get that the day before cancel and you had to pay for her is really frustrating. I agree. I think the text was nice. I don't know what else. She said the text was all about her. She was just kind of explaining like why this had to happen last minute, because she's aware that if she would have canceled 2 weeks ago, it would have been much better. And why did this happen in those 2 weeks? So definitely annoying. I definitely don't think this is like, should be friendship ending. I think she just overestimated herself, found herself like a friend in trouble. Unfortunately, her trouble ended up, costing you money and being disappointing.
And I'll totally validate that a day before cancel, and it sounds like it happened a couple times, is really irritating. Because it's not only like you're paying for it, which is really annoying because you're paying for nothing.
Right.
But then you have to like coordinate, maybe like move a table, and this happened. And then again, it wasn't just, I think it was probably amplified by the other person canceling right after.
Yeah, too, it sounded like.
Yeah, now I have to like figure out, do the tables need to be moved? Do I need to like take them off do I have to speak to the coordinator? It adds another task. And again, I do think it's rude that the friend was like, here's how I'm going to make bringing the baby work, when she didn't really want to do that.
Specifically said like no exceptions, which I give her credit for. And I get why she did that too. It's like, I could see someone else being like, oh my God, that she has her baby. I had to pay a babysitter to watch my kids when my baby's 6 months old. Why is a baby that's 1 month old allowed, but not a baby that's 6 months old, or, whatever the situation is. So I could see why she said no. I get it. This is annoying. Because the friend didn't mean any harm, and I think her intentions were all good, and she only just really wanted to be there, I'll give it a 5.
Okay. Yeah. I would give it a 5 if she didn't try to like finagle the baby into coming and to like ask her to change.
Really, really bugged you. Yeah, I
It
could
did.
see
And
it.
also like where she was like asked the 2 weeks before, she asked for her to like change the events to have more time in
Right.
between.
And then to not even come. Yes,
Right.
I
I
agree.
think
Very
that if it
annoying.
was just, if she didn't like have all those conversations around it and this just happened, I'd give it a 5. I give it like a 6 because of how annoying she was being before about making sure that she could like do the thing that she told her she didn't even really want her to do.
I do think sometimes there is this colliding of selfishness, not even in like the worst way, but it's like when you just have a baby, you're like, I need to prioritize like myself and my baby. And when you're getting married, you're like, I need to prioritize myself and my wedding. And when both of those things are colliding at the same time, this is kind of what you get.
Yeah. But I think that the emailer was kind of like, listen, I'm okay with you prioritizing yourself and your baby. Just don't come. It's cool.
Yes.
Like, and the other person was more like, because she wouldn't take that. I think that's why it becomes so annoying. I think people, and that's almost like an inflated ego of like, she would rather have me there and move everything around and like make this work for me than not have me there at all. And that doesn't sound like if I were the friend, I would have gotten the hint that that's
Yeah.
not the
That's
vibe I
not
was
her.
getting from
Yes.
her. The
It's
vibe
that
I was getting
important.
from her was like, if it's going to be annoying, please don't come. I'd rather you not come than me have to like cater to you.
Yes. And maybe it was, I mean, maybe I'm giving the friend too much of the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was just like, I want to have my old life back. I want to
Well, tough
just,
shit.
yeah, it's true. It might not have even been like, I want to be there for you. Maybe it was, or maybe it was just like, I want to like go to a fun party and like pretend that I didn't just have a newborn baby and like continue to live my life. And it ends up being at her expense because that's why a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah. I hope she sent a nice gift. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
All right, let's do
true.
one more. You want to read
All
it?
right. I will read this. Dear Dr. Naomi and Jordana, first of all, I'm a huge fan of all things Betches, you up listener, calm the fuck down subscriber, the whole ecosystem. And Jordana, I'm over the moon excited for you and Mike. Aunt JoJo is officially becoming Mama JoJo. Now
That's a
on
fun
to
name.
my Mama JoJo. Now on to my triggered scenario. For background, I just got married last Saturday. Even though our venue was only 25 minutes from home, we were staying on site at the hotel beachfront included in our venue booking. My now husband's uncle and his family of 3 asked if they could stay at our house for the entire wedding weekend. I immediately told my husband no. Between prepping sheets, deep cleaning the house, managing wedding chaos, and then returning home exhausted to re-clean everything they used, it sounded like a nightmare. But after enough begging from my husband and his mom, I caved. Important context. This uncle is not financially struggling. He's a high-level corporate exec. His wife runs her own business, and their kids, 32 and 30, both have successful corporate careers. Their flights were short, 2 to 3 hours max. My mother-in-law lent them her extra car so they didn't need to rent one. And they essentially got a heavily discounted Southern California vacation out of the whole thing. We hosted welcome events with unlimited drinks and dinner for guests on both Friday and Saturday, dinners that were $350 per person. We also secured a hotel block at a Best Western nearby for about $250 a night if they preferred that option. So I told myself, okay, with all the money they're saving, maybe they'll give us a nice wedding gift. Their gift? 4 $50 prepaid Visa gift cards.
One from
They
everyone.
Yes. They felt suspiciously like regifts, and I cannot stand using those cards because you never know what the balance is left. And 4 separate ones is just chaos. If this were a regular wedding guest, I'd already think it was a little strange. Like, why not just write a check or click the Zola link? But the fact that they stayed in our home all weekend and then gave us this gift, it feels lame. I know I shouldn't complain, but I can't help feeling a little upset. I'm currently typing this somewhere around laundry load 36,726. So please tell me, how triggered am I allowed to be? Signed, my water bill will most likely surpass $200 this month.
Yeah, this is really annoying. I mean, this guy is clearly like like it's not about how much money he makes. He's just very cheap.
Yeah.
Like everything about this screams cheap. The fact that he'd rather stay in like your house, like the house of the bride and groom. You even ask to do that to save some money with your family of 4. And then clearly, yeah, it seems like a regift. Like this
Yes.
guy is like all about efficiency. He's like, I'm going to
Yes.
borrow my sister's car. I'm going to stay in my nephew's
Yes.
house. And then I got these gift cards from Christmas last year that are going to be perfect for this. So all I got to do is the flights, which I'm sure he found some deal on.
Right. Points or whatever.
Yeah. It's only like, it's triggering, but it's not personal. Like this guy is clearly just very into like being as cheaply economic and efficient as he possibly can and doesn't have any shame.
Yes. No shame. Totally. I completely agree. I guess you look at it as like, okay, you let this one slide. Noted. The next time, maybe you want to stick to your guns because it doesn't sound like this feels good to you. I get it's annoying. The whole, like you said, having someone that is so cheap and just like taking and taking and taking and then not giving anything back in return is really, really frustrating. But it happened. I wouldn't make it worse than it is. It's over. Maybe they did spend, it's California. Maybe they did spend $200 in a water bill. But I validate, this is very annoying, but I see what happens is as you're cleaning up after them, you're like, and this, and this, and this, which is only going to make it feel worse.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it again if you don't want to.
Definitely don't do it again. I would also like, if your husband begged you to let them stay, why don't he do the laundry?
Yes.
That's what I would have said. I would have been like, all right,
or his
they can
mother
stay.
can come over who asked.
But like, yeah, yeah, like either let's get a housekeeper to do this stuff, or you can do it. Cause like I would say yes, but I'm not doing this.
Yes.
Would be like the way that I would. And if that ever came up again, if he was like, oh, Christmas, they're coming, whatever, I would say like, yes, but this isn't like a way to make this not your problem, because the person who's begging for it to happen should have to do some work here.
100%. That is very true. You
Not
should
the
not be
bride,
you should not be having to do the laundry. You were the one that said no. You were coerced into it. And I agree. It is very triggering to feel like I am doing something nice for you and you are not doing anything to like acknowledge that. And even if it wasn't a big gift, which I think would be appropriate when you have 4, adults staying in your home, just some more appreciation in some way, shape, or form would maybe make this feel a little bit better. Like, so even if it was just like, I don't know, a gesture, a long note, an invite to come and, stay by them or use their house if they're away. I don't know where they live, but like, yeah, this just feels like all take, no give.
Right. On a weekend that's supposed to be about you.
Yeah.
It is weird to ask to stay in the bride's house. Like, what are they, sleeping in her bed?
It does seem kind of like, when this is like, who are you? Like, what planet that you would ask to stay at the bride's house
when she's not there?
Yeah. It does seem like a big ask with no gesture of like, wow, oh my, even then, just the ask seems.
Yeah. The borrowing the car from your sister, fine.
Right.
Whatever.
This is weird. I haven't heard this. I could see if it's something that you offered, or maybe your husband, had a loose lip after a couple of drinks and offered, and then they took him up on it. Like that would be a little bit more acceptable, but just to ask and then push, this does lead me to believe, and again, these wedding things, combining families, they bring a lot of the gunk to the surface. Like the mother pushing this and the husband pushing this feels like a little red flaggy.
Time to do some boundaries, right?
Yeah. You might need to set some firm boundaries, because it doesn't seem like the normal etiquette of like, unless you're really close friends, like, best friend or your sister or something, but like this uncle that they don't seem she doesn't say they're super tight, like you hang out all the time. This ask is off and the pressure is off. So yeah, this is just a lesson that, like you said, either set the boundary, the answer is no, sorry, the answer is no, or if you're going to do this, you're doing the laundry, you're going to clean up, or you're going to hire someone to clean up. Sure, they can stay, but maybe you can ask them to pay for a cleaning person because I'm going to be just like recovering from the wedding and we're not really going to want to do it.
Yeah. That would be like the last thing I would want to do after getting home from like my wedding weekend.
Just clean up after a bunch of people.
I hope they strip the beds at the very least.
Yes.
Anyway.
Oh gosh.
All right. I would give this like a 6, I think.
Yeah.
5.5 maybe.
Yeah. That sounds about right. I mean, it was nothing like offensive and mean. It's just like a big, cheap guy.
That people are
and
like
their whole
catering
cheap
to.
family.
Yes.
With like,
yes.
Like if I'm a 30-year-old grown person going to a wedding, like I'm going to kind of be like, hey, what's going on with the gift? Like, can I contribute? Like, what are you giving? You're giving a $50 Visa card? Hey, let's, I don't have my checkbook. Let's stop off at the ATM and let's do this the right way.
No one in the family seems to be advocating for that.
Yeah, so, nobody's advocating for like doing this the right way.
No one has any shame about the $4 $50 gift cards, which is also weird. Anyway.
Yes. For adults, yeah.
Yes, validated. All right. Well, we did it. And we'll be back next week.
All right, that's our time.
Great work today.